video is going to just lightly maybe talk about and show you again kind of the narrative that's been playing out and how it's been changing and turning throughout the last couple of years, but it's been very controlled and steered. A lot of people ask me, if this has all been fake and a prop up, this whole relationship and the whole implanting of nut in the royal family, and it's all been a big show. Where do you think it ends, and how do you think it's going to be done? And I think that purely depends on what you are convinced of and what you're going to believe. Because right now, I think they're needing to play it out until there is a global disaster and things really start unfolding in 2025. That's how I see this playing out. And the reason why I believe that is because there has been so many twists and turns with this narrative. And I don't think a lot of people pick it up because they're on to the next thing and they just go with, like, something's justified or normalized or trivialized, and then they put it to it falls to the wayside, and then they believe the next thing that's coming through the narrative, and it's the next drama, and it's the next drama, and it's the next drama, and no one is understanding fully what is actually being played out and how it's turning and how it's changing according to what's being believed. I hope that makes sense. Libby, again, she's amazing. She has looked at a lot of the documentaries and the history of the production. I've already gone through in my Ulrich Grunwald and also a previous video about how there's a shell production that is connected to the Home Office, that's connected to, more than likely, intelligence of the royal family, that are producing all these films to lead this narrative down this garden path. But you can see that there's been changes along the way. And almost in every one of these productions, there are the same royal experts, including all of them that have been in the ZDF documentaries. And what I find most surprising to myself is that there is the man by the name of Graham Smith, who is the representative of the Republic, or promoting a Republic, UK or Great Britain. He's in almost all of these royal films, and in these films or documentaries, he's talking about how, they're wasting taxpayers' money, but it feels really insincere and really planted. I just find that really, really interesting, that this guy, who I have already called out on social media because they don't seem to actually listen to the public's voices, and they completely ignore responses, and they don't want to interview or have other people share their views or protest actual arguments that are larger than what they create and promote on social media. It's a very controlled campaign, and I think it's controlled opposition. So I've called him out on that, and I've called that organization out on that, because I've said, well, how can you not say anything or do anything in terms of the monarchy being involved in political and policy interference in Australia? How can you not do anything or say anything and talk about, like, mold in an apartment? That is huge. That is, like, like one of the biggest treacherous things that could be done, and crimes that can be done, breaking the entirety of the structure and the credibility of the royal family, and yet that is avoided at all costs, even when spoken to about it. But anyway, there's hundreds of these productions, and if you look into the productions themselves, you can see from 2020, from Megxit, the planned Megxit, you can see how things have turned out, and how it's come across, or what's been the plan. One of the first documentaries that was out March 31st, 2020 was Harry and Meghan, The Next Step. I have skipped over it and I've watched it to see what the narrative exactly was at that time. Of course, Katie Nicholl, Robert Jobson, Graham Smith were all in this documentary. So it's the same players across ZDF, the German production company, across all these production companies that are promoting any of the royal narrative, regarding the health scares, regarding Harry and Meghan, regarding new modern Harry and bringing in the modern royal family, or the modernization in the future of the monarchy with King Charles and Prince William, and all of that. All of those topics and subtopics are done through these controlled production companies and these controlled royal experts. And of course, I've already proven through Katie Nicholl that they actually intentionally lie, but they don't believe they're lying at the time because they're just instructed with the script that they're given, and the narrative that they're given. And then what happens is the royal family or their communications team changes the narrative. And it could be their communications team, it could be intelligence. More than likely it's intelligence, because it would be higher up than just a communications team within the palace. That's what I believe. But either way, the narrative changes, and so then they look the fool, but then they produce books about it, just like Lady C, like Bauer. Katie Nicholl has just produced a new book. I mean, it's all just bullshit. It's just to spew out and to give credibility to these narratives that are given, but they change every so often because the public isn't convinced. And so in this one, the first documentary, it was really trying to give us all context about the credibility of what had taken place with the Megxit, and then basically what happens next is anyone's guess, but they're more than welcome in Canada, and the Canadians are honoured to host them. They never went to Canada, we all know that. So then that that's how much this is controlled, that these people will knowingly talk about this couple going to Canada when they were never going to be, because of course Canada is under the Commonwealth and under the royal family, so it's quite easy to be controlled like that. So anyway, we move forward, and it goes to March 7th, 2021, where the Oprah interview takes place. I've already proven in other videos that the Oprah interview was done years before. Obviously, Nut was wearing a fake bump, and this was completely orchestrated and controlled by the royal family. And after that, I don't know if you can see. Oh no, we'll go to the next one. Is this the next one? Yeah. So after that is they talk about Prince Harry, a new kind of royal. And this is shocking because this is June 2021. So 2 months after the Oprah interview, the royal family are advertising that Harry, a traitor to the nation and the realm, and to the Queen and the family on a personal level, supposedly, this is what, if we go with the Oprah narrative, he is a new kind of royal. And they kind of, in this documentary, they talk about like that there can never be like a half in, half out royal. He will always have to come back into the fold. And what's amazing is they talk about the repercussion, or they talk about, not the repercussions, they talk about the implications of racism within the monarchy, within the actual close, intimate members of the family, and that will sooner or later come out, and it could really create a crisis. pretty much implying that it could create a crisis. So they're actually still trying to convince the public at this time that the racism was real, and that was why all of this is happening, and why Harry is becoming a new kind of royal, where things have to change. They're forced to change because of the circumstances of racism and so forth. And it's really forcing the monarchy to change. So they're trying to give you like these environmental factors in a way, to justify this whole premeditated plan and strategy of globalizing the royal family and the monarchy for the new order in 2025. It's all very trivial, let's say. And then the next one straight after is Prince Harry, Joker in the Pack. Now, I haven't watched that. Kenny Nicol, again, is in that fucking documentary. But what I am trying to show you here, obviously just from the title and from the whole stupid picture of it, is they're trying to make him a comical figure. And I think at this time, at this point within the narrative, this is when they start to undermine Harry, with his drug abuse, with his stupidity, with him being completely pussy whipped, with him being abused and under the thumb and completely manipulated. And the fact that he's a spoiled brat and a victim. I mean, it increased so much by the time that Spare was out that it was just almost unbearable. Like, just from in a way, a psychological perspective from any viewer, to think that this person could be all of this, and still be propped up on this platform, which makes it unrealistic. When you think about it, it makes you go, wait, how is this possible? How can this person be so enabled and not tied in? Oh yeah, because, they're an innocent family and they're completely blindsided by by the treachery and the betrayal of this one person. No, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I can't even have a video out without my whole channel being controlled. And this guy can commit crimes, political interference of like breaching national security of multiple countries that are not his own, from what we are told. And yet that's A-okay, and he still has a platform. But it's just trivialization of Harry because he's such a nut. Well, sorry, no pun intended. But do you see here? So the Prince Harry, A New Kind of Royal, had a very serious undertone. You can YouTube search it yourself. You'll get the full documentary. It was very serious. It was all about racism, and then also about the seriousness and the significance of his royal role and the conflict there, that he really can't escape from this role as a royal, that you can't have half in and half out. And again, that's really manipulative. If he simply said, I want privacy, I don't want half in, half out, I want to get the fuck out, that would make more sense to us. But then again, you would then be demanding that and you would be confused and angry that they weren't dropping the titles. So the half in, half out was intentional, so then he would always be coming back into the fold. And the fact that he never left, that he was always a working royal, and this was just a ploy and a strategy to deceive the public into believing this narrative of Megxit, of this whole relationship and all of these key issues that never were. So it's really interesting how you see this unfolding. You've gone from really serious, credible, new kind of royal Harry to here's a joker juggling balls. As simple as that. The same people in the same bloody documentaries. Come on. Is that it? And then you move up to this kind of 2022, Kate Middleton, the making of whatever, Crying Crisis, Charles King, William and Harry, Unbreakable Bond. That for me was just really funny because at that time, people were still fuming and so angry at the narrative that's been given of the whole, like, Harry being so such a liar and like wanting to kill his own father in a hysteria kind of delusional moment in the book Spare, which is just like incredible. It's like psychopathic, and yet you've got this unbreakable bond of the family and of Harry and William. It makes no sense, and you can say that this is just all narratives being played out. So I just want to show you something here as well. I want to show you how the narratives just change according to the public's reception and the reaction that the public gets, and the failure or success of the manipulation, deception. So remember how with the Ulrich Grunwald ZDF video that I've done, that on January the 17th this year, that Katie Nicholl was doing a documentary with ZDF and Ulrich Grunwald, and through both of her social media posts, Ulrich was saying that it was all about, with many people involved, many royal experts involved and biographers, that she had interviewed all of these people, including Katie Nicholl, exactly, for this image where she's wearing that dress. It was about the health scares, the future health scares of the monarchy. And I found that very odd. And it was about how the health scares would then be used as a mechanism or as a tool for getting Harry back into the fold, because there's, the monarchy is now streamlined. There's less royals picking up the work. And now that there's two main characters out sick and unwell, that they're going to need someone to come in and help out, pretty much. That's what Ulrich was saying on the 17th of January. And she said that she had interviewed Robert Hardman, and Robert Hardman she had either interviewed on the 15th or 16th of January. So that was either the day of or the day before Kate even going into surgery for her going to surgery for her stomach or her abdomen or whatever issues she had. So this was even before anything played out. It was just a pre-planned surgery, but they were talking about ongoing health scares and how Harry may need to come in and help. And that was really, really odd to me, because you're talking about, obviously in future tense. And it was just the whole preparation of it. Ulrich would have to travel from Europe or wherever she was prior to that to come to UK. She would need a crew. She would need a contract. There'd be a contractual agreement already in place and money already, paid to be able to produce this documentary and travel all this way to film them by 15th or 16th of January 2024. And that was also before Charles went to hospital as well. So the reason why I bring this up is because I actually said, I didn't know if she had any other documentary. I don't know which documentary this was a part of because I couldn't find it. But the social media post was enough to prove that there was a strategy in place regarding using the health scares of the future health scares, so not even the current ones or any ones for that matter at that time, to use that and justify Harry returning because the family's so merciful and they just need him back. So surprisingly to me, I actually found a interview that she did for ET, because she was also doing ET or Entertainment Tonight in America, the same day that she was being interviewed by Ulrich Grunwald for the same narrative that she's giving out in this interview for ET. And it simply proposes that the pre-planned surgeries of Charles and Kate are not cancerous. There's nothing to be worried about, but that they will need time to recover. And I don't know if she goes into the concerns about workload and so forth, but she pretty much states that. So I think I'm showing you this because that was the current narrative at the time. Okay, so when they're talking about future health scares, that's still in question as to what health scare she's talking about and what Ulrich was talking about, and possibly why that whole documentary may have been cancelled or hidden away. But the important part is, at the time, this was a narrative that Katie Nicholl was selling.
Went out from Kensington Palace just before 2:30 this afternoon, informing us that the Princess of Wales had been admitted for abdominal surgery with advice that she was going to be in the hospital for between 10 to 14 days.
New photos, the scene at Kate's hospital today. Police officers, reporters, and photographers all stationed outside.
We understand that the Prince of Wales has cancelled all of his immediate engagements for the forthcoming days and weeks while his wife is in hospital.
The mother of three, who celebrated her 42nd birthday last Tuesday, looked healthy and fit during her last public appearance 23 days ago on Christmas.
Whatever it was that they had to remove was not cancerous, which is obviously a huge relief to hear. But she won't be returning to official engagements, most likely until after Easter. This has been quite a major surgery.
Abdominal surgeries could include an appendectomy, a cyst, hernia repair, or colon surgery. Kate herself asked that her personal medical details remain private.
The length of days and the length of recovery makes you think that perhaps this was something that could have required more of a open type of procedure.
I just love how they always bring in these medical experts to justify something that could have been just completely made up. I'm not saying, well, I don't know if her surgery was made up. That could have been completely legitimate. I personally don't believe it, in my own opinion. But they always have these experts that come in to justify it, just like the her whole non-cancer treatment or pre-cancer treatment. Was it pre-cancer treatment for pre-cancer cells? They had all those experts explaining it, and then they had all these articles to define the term straight after. So it's interesting.
As opposed to, say, just laparoscopic. And that adds on time.
Just 1 hour and 46 minutes after the palace revealed Kate's hospitalization, another surprise. It revealed that King Charles will undergo a corrective procedure in the hospital next week after seeking treatment for an enlarged prostate.
Again, we've been told that this is benign. It's not.
See, she's wearing the same dress. It's the exact same day because it's the exact same timing. I think what Katie Nicholl likes to do is she gets the free makeup and hair stuff, and then she tries to plan all of her PR pieces all in one day when she's all dressed up and good to go, and she's had free makeup and free hair.
Cancerous, but it is a condition that needs treatment. His engagements for the next couple of weeks will probably be under review depending on how quickly the king recovers.
So there you go. And the reason why I want to point that out to you is I'll show you in a second what's now taking place. So that through Ulrich Grunwald's social media posts was meant to justify that narrative at that time was meant to justify Harry or Todge returning back to the royal family and back into the fold. So that was the narrative at that time. So this is the post I'm referring to regarding Ulrich Grunwald. You can see that's her Instagram account. And she talks about the latest developments. We asked experts, all these people, how will the British monarchy cope with health threats? Not health scares, sorry, health threats. Plural and future tense. Public expectations and scandal. Will there be a need to bring back Prince Harry? Is it too much workload for the small group of working royals? It's such a rhetorical question. Like, this is just such a narrative. She doesn't have any skill or talent in literally telling you the implanted narrative that you're meant to be convinced of. As always, thanks to I don't care. So that is what the message was at that time. Same dress, same time, and her doing the ET interview as well. And obviously that didn't work. And so they've really dragged Kate's cancer through the mud in a way, or the how hard it was, how difficult it was to then use a new PR branding of the new Kate. There's a new PR rebranding of Kate as the new Kate. Now that she's survived cancer, after 6 months or so of treatment, pre-cancer treatment, she survived it, and now she has a new outlook on life, and one is of forgiveness, of course, with Harry, of course. So obviously they realized that the health scares alone wouldn't work to bring Harry back into the fold. They tried. I remember articles about Charles being merciful, obviously Harry missing his family, needing to be by his father's side, etc., etc. They tried it. It wasn't enough, or they realized it wasn't enough, and so they've changed the strategy. They've just altered it slightly, and this is what I'm trying to prove to you, is that they just alter it and they see what sticks and what works. Either way, Harry will come back. They just need something that sticks. And so this is the current, I posted this yesterday or 2 days ago. Vanity Fair's royal expert. So she's on ET, Vanity Fair, and she's also just a royal expert on all these production company, like all these show production companies, and foreign companies that are producing documentaries, mockumentaries. You think Netflix is the only one. It isn't. Hundreds of these mockumentaries to present these narratives. And she says, they say, according to her, after Kate Middleton's cancer diagnosis, she will be open to a reconciliation with Prince Harry. Kate Middleton might serve as a role model to end feud between Prince William and Harry, claims expert Katie Nicholl. So this is evident again. I mean, this is how much of a liar and a shill Katie Nicholl is. She's gone from the narrative that Harry will come back because of the workload in January 2024, and now she's changed it to new Kate is open to reconciliation and empathy and compassion and warmth and kindness and generosity and mercy for Harry, and she will be the conciliator. She will be the middlewoman to soften these heartbreaks within the royal family. So they've realized the king couldn't do it. They realized William couldn't do it, and the whole stories weren't sticking. So they've brought in new Kate. And just to also let you know, this whole new Kate narrative, literally new Kate narrative brand identity, isn't new. It's 3 months old, and it was actually created already and pre-planned and premeditated. So this would have been during her surgery, or during her treatment, shall we say, because obviously this interview, it takes a long time to be able to interview, produce, edit, and then have it rolled out. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just within the month or so. But this is the same shell companies that are of the palace or intelligence that, or, you know, connected to the Home Office that are producing these documentaries. Yeah. So Tudor Productions, which is that Dutch guy Brian that I have talked to you about, that with Barbara Cahan, who was dead in early 2000, who has over hundreds and thousands of shell corporations, created this his production companies, EM and Tudor Productions. So obviously these are shell companies. Of course, Diana. She's used for everything.
The life of a royal is one of immense complexity. To uphold tradition and maintain a strong social standing are values upheld not only by the family, but the nation.
It really does today feel like having lost a member of your own family as a Brit, and I'm sure for a lot of people.
Or president.
News feeds on their phone and on the television, or no.
It's great with kids, Harry. I mean, you only have to see him when he's out in Africa, as I've done with the kids that they sent to Bali refugees, and he's fantastic.
Can you believe these guys are praising Harry after everything? Can you see it's just a narrative and they just change according to what they're instructed to do? Insane. Harry is now great with kids. He's a fun-loving guy. Also a drug addict and mentally unstable. Possibly a criminal. But a great guy and just Harry. And a traitor to the Queen and to the royal family. But that's all forgotten now.
He's fun. He's a big kid himself, I think he says it himself.
Prince Harry probably has the most fun with Prince George out of the entire family, because with Harry, he can be as cheeky and as silly and as wild as he wants to be with this little baby, and he has a great time with him. You know, one of Harry's best qualities is his childishness and his kind of open personality and just finding fun in everything.
And an attempt to change a nappy with one hand, much needed practice perhaps for the uncle-to-be.
This is exactly how my brother's going to be. Yeah.
He really connects with George because George, from all accounts, is a baby with a huge personality and character. He doesn't just...
So they're talking about when, I guess, George was a baby. I don't know how Harry, per se, can connect with a baby. Anyway,
Kate has made a place for herself within the royal family, built on hard work and commitment.
just remember they also said she was a Crown agent and she's worked really hard alongside Meghan.
As William has said, we have heard
family life.
After some difficult years through the height of the coronavirus pandemic, Kate organised the Royal Carols to get
parents. These people are in love with each other.
give the gift of bliss this Christmas. Lindor from Lind.
Love is there. It's got to be there. But without respect, it won't work.
I say in my book that modernisation is a very hard word to use in the context of the royal family because the royal family is built on history and tradition and protocol, but actually in William and Kate, you see a future king and queen who are driving it forward and taking it on to the next step.
Both Kate and William
Okay, I don't even know what that was about, other than pushing the identity that the modernization of the monarchy is now with Catherine and William rather than Harry. Do you see the transfer? So before Harry, before all of this, there wasn't really modernism within the family. As I've said before, a part of the Megxit plan created by the Queen's Secretary at the time, which was before 2017-ish, because that was when he left that. I think he left that job at that time, but Sir David Manning did by March 2017, who was also a part of the plan, who created, a part of compiling the plan of Megxit. They created travel lists for Harry, for him when he's in America, and Earthshot for William. And that has always been the two-sided dialectic deception, duality played out, however symbolic that is. But there's always been this plan of these two things playing out at the same time. And so the modernization went through Harry first, and then has gone through the bad cop, and then has gone through the good cops, Kate and William. And that was always going to be the strategy. They need to protect William and Kate at all costs. Their brand identity, of course, not the actual, they need to protect William, but not so much Kate, as you've seen in the whole public PR ordeal with her surgery. So yeah, there's a whole every time we aren't convinced, there's a change in narrative and a change in strategy. And this is but one example of it, going from the new Kate being open to reconciling because life is too short, compared to her being ill and having a really tough workload until Easter, and therefore Harry was going to come back, which is insane, right? It's only a month or so at that time, or a month and a half, and they were going to need to have Harry come back permanently for that to happen. It's just ridiculous. So there you go. There's that's probably what is to be brought out of this video today, is that we will never know the answers as to how it's going to play out, but do know that the outcome will always be the same. It's just the angle and how they're going to sell it to us. Thank you.